My name is Bradley Cameron with Subsonic Skateboards. I'm here at my local shop, Motion Boardshop, to talk to you about the current Subsonic factory lineup. There's a couple things about the way that we do things at Subsonic that's a little bit different. All these boards are made in our factory here in Seattle, Washington. We do all our lamination in-house, cutting, and we finish all of our decks off with a single color hand screen printed graphic. So I'm going to go over a couple just quick details of each board, and we're going to throw in some numbers and specifications on each deck. If you've got any questions about any of these boards, you can drop a comment in the box below. You can call Motion Boardshop, you can email them. They're really good at getting back to people and helping people tune in the deck of their choice for the type of writing they want to do. So first off, we're going to look at the Vega 36. This is our take on a downhill or freeride top mount. One of the first things you might notice about this board is that the rocker is forward set. So instead of having the rocker in the center of the deck, it sits up towards the front here. This gives your front foot a bit of a pocket and your back foot more of a ramp to work with. Keeps your front foot nice and cozy, and your back foot's not going to slip off the back of the deck. In addition to that, this deck does have flush mounts and pretty big wheel wells. Nice thing about flush mounts with a board with rocker is it flattens out the mounting, so even though the deck does have rocker, your trucks aren't going to have any angling or effect on the way that the board turns. This board is made of 9 plies of Canadian maple. Next deck we're going to look at is the Talon 37. This is a board that I helped design and I really enjoy. It's definitely a shorter drop deck, so it's going to be a lot more responsive than many drop decks. In addition to that, it does have a little bit of a kick here, so if you want to kick your board up, you want to go off a curb, it's going to be easier to do that without scraping up your deck. And it also has a little bit of a downturn here, what we like to call the claw, which is really great if you want to throw down the board and you've got something here to grab, or if you're leaning toe side and you want to grab onto the nose of your board, there's a really solid spot here to grab. This board is made of 9 plies of maple. It's got a wedge nose and a D-wedge tail. That's going to make it so that the front of your board turns more than the back does. This is definitely going to be a very responsive yet stable drop deck. The third deck we're going to look at is the last deck of our lineup that's made with 9 plies of maple. This is the GT40. As you might see, it is dropped, but it is also drop through, traditionally called a double drop. If you want, you could top mount this deck, just making it a drop deck. The main purpose of this board, or what we designed it for, is for distance pushing, although it also makes a great board if you want to learn how to slide, or you're looking to go faster speeds, but you also want to be able to do some distance pushing or commuting. This is a great option. This deck does also feature the single colored screen print graphic. So those 3 decks are 3 decks that are made with 9 plies of Canadian maple. The next 4 decks we're going to look at have what we call embedded fiberglass. So there isn't any fiberglass on the bottom or the top of the deck, but there is fiberglass underneath the bottom and top ply. So with the fiberglass being inside the deck, you actually get more response and rigidity out of the fiberglass. And if you go off a curb or you scrape the bottom of your deck, you're not going to damage that fiberglass and cut all the strands, which effectively doesn't allow the fiberglass to give you full rigidity across the entire length or width of the board. So the first board we're going to look at is the Century 40. And this is a deck that I've been writing a lot recently because I've been doing a lot more distance riding, pushing, and pumping. This board does have a wedge nose and a D-wedge tail. I like to call this like the road bike of longboards. If you just want to go from point A to point B and just fly there, this is what you want. It does have 7 plies of maple with that embedded fiberglass. Something that you will find on this board that you won't find many other places is that there is additional mounting here on the back drop. So if you have a 35-degree truck and you flip it and mount it here, the kingpin will be pointed directly down and you'll have a 0-degree truck. So it's a really great feature that you can take a truck and flip it, and it completely changes the way that the board rides, totally changes the wheelbase. It's a really nice way that you can have 2 completely different rides out of the same deck. The next deck we're going to look at, this is the Roos 39. This is the updated version. We originally made this deck and it wasn't dropped through, and we got a lot of feedback from our shops and different writers out there that said, make it drop through, it'll be significantly better. And so we gave it a shot and we realized that it definitely was. This deck, while it looks pretty simple, there's actually a lot going on. We just kept everything really mellow so that it wouldn't, interfere with the ability to cruise or enjoy it if you're not used to having a large amount of concave. So in addition to having two small kicks here, there is a small drop, there's rocker in this board, and there's a little bit of camber. So you kind of have two pockets here where your feet sit, where your feet aren't going to go off the front of the deck and they're not going to move towards the center of the deck. That keeps your feet where you want them, but none of it's really aggressive. It's all really mellow. So your feet aren't gonna hurt. You're not gonna feel like you're, in pain after riding this board because of how much concave there is. The next two decks are the newest boards to our lineup that are recently released. This is the Shadow 37. This is something that we have been working on for a really long time and we're pretty excited about. The Shadow has a full color wrap. Definitely something that really pops. This particular deck also has a lot going on, but most of it's pretty mellow, so nothing's too aggressive and gets in the way. This deck has a 4-degree wedge in the nose, so you've got a little bit of a pocket here up front, so your front foot is going to stay where you want it. And then there is a very small drop here in the back to match that small wedge. You've got a flat area where the truck mounts, and then a small kicktail. This board also features tri-plane concave. Typically when people talk about tri-plane concave, you think you have 3 flat planes, but when we do tri-plane concave, we put a little bit of concave in each of those planes so that you don't have 3 sharp flat surfaces. The last deck that we're going to look at is the Spirit 30. This was designed and tested, and we built this for Ryan Vega, who is our engineer. He's our custom board builder. He's the guy that makes everything happen at the factory. It's a much shorter deck, but if you're looking for something, if you want to go weave some cones, or you just want to have a really responsive deck, something that you can move quickly on, or maybe you're looking to do more agile downhill riding, this would be an awesome option for you. We include these custom cut blocks with each of these decks so that you don't have to mess around with trying to stack up a bunch of risers and get your back truck to properly mount on the kicktail of the deck. If you have any questions, you can always call Motion Boardshop at 206-372-5268. I know that they'll pick up the phone. I've got a lot of good friends that work here. You should always wear your helmet. If you can, support your local skate shop, support local skateboard brands. Have a good day. Go skateboard.